Hey. Hi, I really like it how you're running up there and getting out of the way so I don't accidentally shut the door on your tail again. There you go, buddy. Good morning. I don't know that I've seen Morris yet today. That doesn't make me happy. Marty and Stripe are in the house for a while, but Morris is not here. I'll holler for him. I sure don't like that, though. Hi, Mart. There you go, buddy. There you go. There he comes. He says, Mom, I was just up here in the sunshine. In the wintertime, they really like the sunshine up there at the top of the hill. Not a whole lot I can do about it. Basically, the whole yard down here is in the shade, and they like the warmth. Good morning. I've got breakfast. Thank you for coming so promptly today. Oh, I'm not meaning to scare you. Hi. You can come to your food. Good boy. I'll put it away so I can pet you. It's going to be a beautiful day walking around in downtown Raleigh. Good morning. Hi. Hi. I love my greeting. Yeah, I really love my greeting. Good girl. It's typical Saturday traffic today everywhere we go. We dropped off a couple boxes at the UPS store, and now we're headed to Dorothea Dix Park. After that, we've got a Facebook Marketplace Lego purchase to make near Crabtree Valley Mall, and then the Lego store has the holiday minifigures. One of them has a present for a body. It's a long rectangular box. Anyway, we're going to do that after Dorothea Dix because we're close enough to do that. And Don said yes. Doesn't he look handsome today in his Thanksgiving fall colored outfit? He's got orange on underneath too, just to, you know, make sure we complete the look.
Yeah, shirt my sweetie got me.
Jules and somebody else going on the guided tour. I don't remember this building. I don't know if it's restored or brand new. This is considered the official visitor center now. I really want to say it's new. Meant to look historic, but new. Maybe the guided tour will talk about the visitor center building. Oh, it's got the stone house, made possible by State Employees Credit Union. So it says it's made possible by the SECU, which again implies to me that although it looks historic, it's not historic. It's new, done in an appropriate.
Probably came the wrong way. I think we were supposed to go straight down.
Oh well, we'll figure it out. First time here. So yeah, this is the superintendent's house, so the visitor center must be the lower building. There's this Raleigh skyline. This is the gatekeeper's cottage, and this is the official visitor center. There's 3 nicely restored or newly built buildings here. There's a bowl for a doggy, water. I should get to see the new power line poles today. I went past one time and sort of saw them, but didn't really see them, but we should see those today. And then they have, you know, really done a nice job with the displays in here, which there's a plaque that says what family gifted them. But I particularly like the sunflower butterfly picture. They're famous for their sunflower field here in the summertime. We didn't make it this year, but the 2 years prior we came. And they've had some interesting light shows. A guy that did all this neon. We didn't make it to that either. But if it comes again, Donnie, we're coming. I'm just putting my foot down and we're coming.
And so for 8 years I've been doing some years it's twice a month. There was a bit of break during the pandemic, not a long break. And then this year we've done one a month. Take the winter off. And so this is a 2-mile walk. I think the webpage says 3.
Yeah.
It's 2.
Okay.
It's 2.
Darn.
Well, I've used my pedometer, and it's not near 3.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit longer than 2 because right now there's some construction going on and we have to walk all the way around it. So then less than twice this size. Or Central Park in Manhattan is a little bit less than 3 times this size. So this is a nice substantial size park. It's 308 acres, and the dark green gives you a picture of the space. This is Lake Western Boulevard right down here, and this is Lake Wheeler Drive. That goes like that, and that's the main orientation. The cathedral is that way. If you know where the Catholic Cathedral is, it's that way. And the farmer's market is that way. I just want us all to feel like we know where we are in Raleigh. And as we walk around, we'll see all those things. So we're here at this smallest of the stone houses, and we're going to walk like this. That's our walking path. Okay, so this is not the current map of the space. This is the master plan. Most of these white things are not roads. Most of these white things are walking paths. So the white lines are walking paths. Some of them are roads. This is a road, and that's a railroad. But the vision of how to turn this into a park is going to take these 83 buildings and tear most of them down. There'll maybe be 30 left. Maybe 30. I don't know how they're going to utilize 30 buildings, but there are 30 buildings that are in good enough shape, that are interesting enough, they think they should keep. So we'll talk about some of them that I've been told are going to be kept. I don't know 30 buildings here that are going to be kept. But we'll walk through and we'll talk a little bit about that. So the vision is to turn all of this, the parking lots, the roads, the buildings, to turn that into a natural area. Particularly this whole swath from here to here. That whole crescent is mostly going to be open, natural land. Now, I don't know that it's going to be open like a field is open. The big field will be, but these other areas might be heavily planted. Like if you can imagine, if you've been to Central Park, there are a lot of plantings. When they first planted it, they put in 3 million bushes. And so it was pretty much a barren landscape with a village and some other buildings there. And now it's a heavily wooded area, heavily wooded. That may be true here too when it's all said and done. There will be a large 60-acre field, but it's going to be about 100 acres of just outside. And so the development of this as a park, the vision is not to build up, but it's kind of take down back to the land. All right, so that it's more of an outside natural space than it is a built-up space. There are a couple of exceptions that are going to be highly built up. One of them's happening right now. We'll talk about and we'll even walk past it. So there are 5 phases to the master plan. Phase 1 is happening right now. Phase 1 focuses on this L shape, Western Boulevard and Lake Wheeler Drive. And so one of the phase 1 things is to take the creek and turn it into a meandering natural creek. It was a natural creek, but then when they put in the highway, they just turned it into a channel just to rush the water out of Raleigh to get it to the Neuse. Well, you know, the Neuse does flood, and partly it floods because all the towns on the Neuse just rush all their water. And Crabtree Creek will have millions of gallons of water every time we have a heavy rain. Millions of gallons of water going into the Neuse. For the most part, the streams of Raleigh no longer function as water percolating, water filtering, flood preventing stream beds. Most of them are turned into channels now. And this one will be turned back into, now when I say something is in phase 1, it probably will be 5 years before it's done. And who knows if it'll be done in 5 years or not.
That's Ready Creek. Is that the
It's
name of
Rocky
it?
Branch.
Yeah, Rocky Branch.
Rocky
That was what I was
Branch.
trying to. Okay, thank
Rocky
you.
Branch, yeah.
Knew it started with Rocky.
So there was an old landfill right along the creek somewhere.
That's right.
In Dix.
Yeah, there was a landfill here where the soccer fields have been for the last few years.
Right, okay.
Not the last couple of years, but for the last 10 years. They've rented that space out for capital area soccer league to have soccer fields. But it's on top of a landfill. And so because it's on a landfill, they really can't build buildings on it. And so that's going to be maybe sporting fields, maybe it's open fields. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's not going to be built up. Great. And so Judge Ridgway was on the tour. I think he may have ran for re-election this last time. I really like him. And he was talking about when he was a kid, his school bus would go down that road, Western Boulevard, and the stink from the landfill was so bad, if they were too rowdy, the bus driver would pull over, stop the bus and open the doors until they got quiet, and then he'd take them on back to school. That was funny. He was on the tour. All right, so that is not in process in terms of something visible we can see. The engineers are studying the stream to figure out how it can be done. There are 3 designs that have been proposed, and which design is chosen really depends on how much money comes to the project. And so right now there's not a funder for the project. They're looking for a funder for the study and design part, but then they would get a funder for implementing and doing it. So all of that could take about 5 years. And I don't know how they're gonna do it, but the idea is they're probably gonna do it in segments. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how, what do? You turn the first half into this meandering and then it connects to the channel down to the next? I mean, like, I don't understand how it's gonna work, so I'm gonna learn something about that. And then this area is a phase 1 project, the Gateway. But here now we're calling it the Play Plaza, named after the Gibson family, Gibson Play Plaza. And what happened is the Gibson family had $10 million they wanted to give to the park. They wanted something that could have their name. They wanted something they could feel proud of and point to and said, we helped make that happen. And so they said, what about one of the main entrances of the park is going to be a gateway space. And they had, maybe it will have a fountain, maybe it will have play plaza, maybe it will have play structures, garden structures, sculptures, that kind of thing. And they said, we'll do it. So I thought, wow, $10 million for 18 acres of highly developed park. Sort of like downtown Cary. That's what I mean when I talk about a highly developed park. Right. Like the new Cary downtown park was very nice. Yes. Very nice. That's kind of what I mean by a heavily built up park. It's not a natural space, it's a man-made space. And I thought, wow, $10 million, that's great. That's a lot of money, right? No. What I didn't know is that it's a $60 million project.
Wow.
And so the rest of the money's here. Many of us voted for it in the park bond last year. So the park bond passed, and it's going to do something, it's going to build.
If I understood correctly, the city bought the land from the state for $52 million, and there's some leasing agreements for Health and Human Services for the state still using some of the buildings, but most of them no. Our tour guide today, he does this basically for free, or there was no fee for this today for us at any point. And he's a really good guy. He's very knowledgeable. He talks well. I'm very impressed with him. He told us about phase 1. There's 5 total phases, and he's thrilled that the land is being preserved pretty much in its entirety for park use. It's a third the size of Central Park. This is a permanent piece of art. I said, cool if kids are allowed on it. It's Corten steel, stainless steel fasteners. So it'll be there for a long time to come. It looks quite sturdy. And these 3 buildings are original buildings that were restored. This one was moved from the middle of Western Boulevard back into the park.
That's a modern building, but it's using here what was because there was this hospital campus that was here that had been North Carolina's first psychiatric hospital. And the reason the psychiatric hospital was here is because this was part of a plantation, and the plantation owners were interested in selling it off. So when they were looking for a location, a good location for a hospital, they thought it'd be really nice at the top of the hill, having a view of Boylan Heights and all the neighborhoods. They thought there weren't trees. Boylan Heights didn't have trees. back then. I mean, they had trees, but they didn't have this. It wasn't this. We're talking 150 years ago. So it wasn't 170. So it wasn't like this. And they envisioned beautiful treescape, and having the hospital at the top of that building would be really nice.
The sandstone building up there is the original hospital building. Sorry for the siren, but this is my window that I have. It's from 1856, and there are quite a few buildings that were built over the years attached to it, and as part of the renovation, they're going to get rid of all of the extra buildings. And then the main entrance, which was somewhere in this vicinity, that part of the building, which had arches and real architectural interest, was torn down at some point. He said they're thinking about putting arches up, but not the full building, and using it as a terrace area, sort of in remembrance to the look of what it once was. They got lots of plans. He said it won't take 100 years to get through all 5 phases, but you know, they're going to be working on this for decades to get it to be what the full vision is, and refining stages of the vision as they go. So in 2012 is when the hospital closed. And so they've been working on it for 12 years now. Some of you who have studied American history, and especially us women when we were young girls, read about Clara Barton and Florence Nightingale. Dorothea Dix is every bit as important as the two of them. Probably should be talked about more. She had meetings with Lincoln, President Lincoln, as the head of like nursing and stuff during the Civil War. She was very important. Dawn's loving the history. I am too. This ended up being an excellent adventure for us today in this pretty November weather. And you can see that the hospital is up on a hill and did, you know, look down over beautiful landscape. There were Civil War battles fought on these grounds. It's a very historic site.
So maybe she had inherited land, and she gave all this land to be the hospital, and that's who I thought she was. All wrong. It was all wrong. She's not from Raleigh. She's not wealthy. She was only here one time. But what she was the most prominent nurse in the country. She was born in 1802 outside of Boston, and she grew up in a new kind of family. They were not wealthy, but they were very well educated. And so she and her sister were very well educated young women, but she was also, frankly, kind of brilliant. By the time she was 19, she had published books. Early 20s, she had started a girls' school, and she started a private school, and the proceeds from that went to fund a public school open to anyone who didn't have to pay, girls. And the reason girls is because girls didn't go to public school in the United States. You may not know that. The public schools were just for boys. And so she created her own public school for girls and used the proceeds from one to pay for the other, all in her early 20s. She became a nurse, and luckily for us, she got tuberculosis. And she went to England to live with some family friends. Don't know why there. I don't know why England, why that family. They were a Quaker family, and like all Quaker families, they had some social volunteerism they were into. They went to the local prison and did Sunday school every week. And so she went along. So she's here in London in a large psychiatric, a large jail, a large prison. She's looking around, and she's a nurse, and she starts thinking, people shouldn't be prisoners. These people should be in a hospital. Why aren't they in a hospital? Why are they here? And that started it for her. The idea there needs to be a psychiatric hospital everywhere. There needs to be a hospital where people don't end up in jail or prison. They go to hospital and they get better, or they're taken care of, and they never end up, homeless and dying in the woods. The options here in the United States, largely, if you had a psychiatric problem, if your family couldn't take care of you, you lived outside, you lived homeless. If you were really seriously bad off, you couldn't take care of yourself, and if your family couldn't, there's nobody. And so that's a pretty awful existence. People get sick, they die, just because they didn't have a place, not because their mental illness killed them, but because their mental illness kept them from being in a safe place. And so they would die from exposure or any number of things, pneumonia, flu, tuberculosis, any number of things. And so while she was there, she started talking about things to her family. They knew a social reformer from the north of England who was into psychiatric care, and he introduced Dorothea to the moral philosophy of psychiatric care. So he's the one that started talking to her. Now, she may have heard of it before, but he was a big proponent of it, and she and he did meet. And so when she came back to the United States, she had this idea. Now, in England, the moral philosophy of psychiatric care included all those things we talked about, but also a little bit of church, Bible study, you know? When it came to the United States, the Bible study aspect of moral philosophy was left out. And it was really just that, have a natural life, enjoy sunlight and fresh air, being outside, having a job, a normal life, a safe place to be. All of that became the predominant idea in the United States psychiatric care. And that was true here too. Largely, not just because of Dorothea Dix, but other folks like her talking about promoting this idea. What she did do is over the course of her life, she helped create and open 32 psychiatric hospitals. And the reason there's one here in North Carolina is she looked around at the states and saw there were only 2 states that had no psychiatric hospital, Delaware and North Carolina, none. So she came here, she came to the Central Prison, she had permission, she did a nursing assessment of the prisoners at Central Prison. She took that to a legislator who then took that report to the legislature and asked them for some money to start a hospital, and they said no. Okay, she comes back to her hotel a bit in defeat. But she's across the hall from James Dobbin. James Dobbin,
Yeah, Dobbin
James
building.
Dobbin was the most prominent politician of North Carolina. It's from Fayetteville. That's a big, fancy Victorian house in downtown Fayetteville right now. But James Dobbin was very prominent, and his wife was there in the hotel with him. His wife was very sick, and Dorothea Dix crossed the hall and talked to Mrs. Dobbin and said, "Hey, listen, I'm a nurse. Can I take care of you?" And she said, "Yes, please." And she did. And she took care of Mrs. Dobbin until Mrs. Dobbin died. But on her deathbed, she said, "You've been so good to me, Dorothea. What can I do for you?" And Dorothea said, "I have an idea what you can do for me. Talk to your husband." And she did. And James Dobbin presented the plan to the legislature, and it was funded. Man, 8 years later, the hospital was complete.
Wow.
Mostly slave labor, not exclusively. 1856 is when it opened. Only white patients, but covering all of North Carolina.
So the architect of this building was A.J. Davis, and there are a few other examples of his buildings in the state. The tour guide said if we went to Tuscany in Italy, this looks like architecture dating back to the 1400s. So even though it was built during the Victorian era, there's no, you wouldn't know that it was from that era. It doesn't resemble other buildings of the time at all. Look at the size of this ginkgo tree. And that will turn yellow and like drop all of its leaves in a single day. Wow, that is without a doubt the biggest ginkgo tree I've ever seen. That's amazingly beautiful. Of course, here on the front lawn we have quite a few southern magnolia trees. The tour guide said back in the day when the hospital were built, it faces, this front here faces Western Boulevard, faces Pullen Park. There's a land bridge either there already or coming soon to get from Dix over to Pullen Park. But he was saying at the time when the building was built, there were trees, but there weren't forests like this. Like you could really see over to Boylan Heights area of town, and not anymore. Now there are beautiful trees. Still not seeing much color. We've got some color, we don't have a lot of color. Maybe if we ever get a frost, we'll have appropriate color. I think this year's color is just going to be a little sad. But who knows, going into Christmas, we could have great color. We're having to walk around because on that end is where the new play plaza is fixing to open. And it's a construction zone and we're not allowed to walk through there right now. He also said, don't think Play Plaza means a reproduction of Pullen Park. He says Pullen Park has done such a great job over there. They're not trying to reinvent that. There will be other things at this Play Plaza. This chapel is from the 50s and has been restored and is available to rent for various events. When Don and I were here for the sunflowers one time, we parked sort of straight in front of us somewhere and walked to the field, which is way in that direction. Some sort of an interesting piece of art here. It says this is the HVAC shop physical plant. Looked like really old brick over there. I think he's taking us on the other side of the construction now so we can see part of the Play Plaza. Supposed to open in May. So I would suspect we'll come and see it sometime next year, just maybe not, you know, right the day it opens. Because even though there's all this land and there are a lot of parking lots here, it can be very hard to find parking for like the sunflower event. It starts here, huh? I guess it does. You know me, I love a mural, so any type of mural they'd like to put is good. Again, he said this is not like Pullen Park. Don't think Play Plaza like Pullen Park, but I wonder what it means is going in over here.
Park behind that red brick building, and you walk through a little grove of trees, and that's the entrance of the Play Plaza. Over there next to it, the little road, and it will be a nice, gentle stairway, wide stairway that will serve also as seating for performances that are going to happen at the plaza at the base of it.
So this is the physical plant. This platform here is where they brought in the coal. I assume there's a train track sign down here on the train. He says there is a wide network of tunnels that run from this building to other buildings, original buildings on site. He said one person took a tour one day, walked for 45 minutes and didn't get to the other end of the tunnel. So it's an extensive network. Boy, that sounds like that would be a great ghost tour. And pack your lunch and bring extra flashlights because your cell phone probably doesn't work down there. Healing Transitions, a long-term psychiatric facility, is still on that corner of the property. And they can be there for up to about another 45 years, he said. Don found a bag, so he's very happy now. This is the big field. Some of this, like at Duke Gardens, will be left open for events. Now this is the backside of the farmer's market. And he said there are no plans to connect the two, and he was going to explain why. So the pretty retail side of the farmer's market is totally on the other side of this from where we're standing, and there's no great foot traffic path through there, and that's why there's no immediate plans to open it up. Not to mention it's a pretty good walk to the other side. There was some discussion about swapping the commercial to the other side of the property or just various other things, and none of them have taken hold at this time. So that is one big you-know-what field, and uphill, as you can see. Don's doing what Don does. Thank you, Donnie. He found him a bag. Uh-oh, you got a hole in your bag. Yeah, you're about to have trouble with your bag. This is not the original log cabin plantation house, but this version of the plantation house on the same spot as the other houses before dates back to about 1820. And there were 60 enslaved people on this plantation. And the Historical Society here has found generations of people whose grandparents, great-grandparents, whatever, I'm not sure exactly how far back. But anyway, they hold family reunions here now. kind of neat. This building over here is where Sam and Johnny almost went to school. It says K through 12, but basically, I don't know if it's still the early college location for NC State or not, but at the time we signed them up to go to Wake Young Men's, they had another similar program over here through NC State at that building, but they had some really, really strict. You had to be like off the charts, smart, genius. Like Elon could have gotten into that school, but probably not us ordinary people. And even if they could have gotten in, then do you really want to be undergoing that much pressure for your college? I mean, for your high school time when you're supposed to still be growing up and doing other things with your time. So we did not even try to go that route. It just seemed a mighty steep hill. I wouldn't have wanted to have done it. Although I did try to get into the School of Science and Math in high school, which is a very prestigious school, and did not gain entry. Did not gain entry. I keep on being behind just because I stay back to film. The tour guide today, again, has been excellent. Really appreciate him. He does this once a month, and he takes off winter. So I'm not sure if this is the last one or if December is the last one until April. Usually at Yates Mill, the mill tours, they don't do them December, January, February, and then maybe they start back in March. They take off 3 or 4 months here. You know, there's days it'd be perfectly fine to do it, and then other days nobody would want to do it, and so they just plan not to do it for 3 or 4 months. But the other 8 months out of the year, we just keep going here like the weather's great, and usually it is. Certainly today fits into the very nice. Yeah, there are these old green awnings on a bunch of these buildings. This is the Ashby Building, Division of Property and Construction. This is Umstead Drive here. It's a pretty nice view of the skyline from here, Donnie. Donnie, yeah, it's a pretty nice view of the skyline right there. There's a couple of benches and things down there too. I'm always thinking about where's a good place to watch the fireworks, if they shoot them off over downtown, or if we need the sky for celestial event like the comet or meteor shower or something like that. We're gonna need to take that trail over there. There's convenient parking. You can see the cathedral at WRAL. And there's downtown. Wow. Specifically, this house is called the Flower Cottage. Looks like a nice place for an intimate, small wedding gathering. Get married with the skyline in the background, and then inside the sliding glass doors was a nice little seating area for 15, maybe, something like that. There are some cemetery markers over there. And then straight ahead of us is where they plant the sunflowers, but of course they're all cut back for the year now. It is a huge field of sunflowers, and they try to plant multiple heights, like little kid pictures versus adult pictures. They've been doing a great job with it for years now. So the tour ended up being about 2.5 hours and 2.25 miles, so perfect. And there's 2 Teslas up there now, going into the chapel to do something. Don dropped me off here at Crabtree, and as you would expect, a few Saturdays before Thanksgiving, it's pretty crowded today. I had seen this cat in the ads, and I heard about it in the ladies Lego Lounge group, and oh my god, it's so cute, and wow, I like that cat. There are about 35 people waiting to get into the Lego store, but that line moved in about 10 minutes. And they didn't have any pre-put together holiday minifigures, so I had to hunt in the bins with my bad back with the little kids. I mostly found what I wanted, and I did get a pick-a-brick. And I don't know how poor Don might have managed to have slept with all this noise and vibration out here, but it looks like he did, so that's good. He doesn't know I was gone over 30 minutes. Wow, the sun's setting. It's 5:15. I did run into Harris Teeter, and I did complete my Facebook Marketplace transaction. Harris Teeter was about as crowded as, well, not quite, but the meat department where the roasts are on sale was about as crowded as the Lego store. So at this point, I'm ready to not shop anymore today out in public. Didn't say anything about Amazon or, but not in public. I'm always ready to shop. This is Emma's art school that I got on Facebook Marketplace for 20 bucks. That's a good deal. It was a lot more new. It's complete as best as I can tell, except for the hair for Professor Beatrice and Emma. And I have other Emmas and I have other hair, so it's fine. There's a really nice mock that turns this frontage here, this important stuff, these windows, into a modular building. And that's my plan sometime next year. I won't get to it. I won't get to it right now because, you know, I got Christmassy stuff to do. And here's my stuff from the Pick-a-Brick wall. Someone had built this snowman head, and then I guess this complete snowman body. And I thought they were really cute, so I included them in my stuff. I needed a lamppost for the castle. Well, every building in my town has a lamppost on the sidewalk, has a certain sidewalk and a certain lamppost. That's pretty standard. And they had those today in there, and that was good. And these are the kind of bricks you use to make like the brick heads, like a round or a square thing. And they had snowflakes in there, and they had really good stuff. I'm going to dump it into this bag, though, before I lose it all over the house. I got 3 of the present minifigures. This is not the head they showed in the pictures with the glasses, but should be satisfactory. They went in the back and got the little present for me. And then I got 2 Christmas holiday sweaters and 1 Santa holiday sweater. They do not make you build a complete minifigure. You just get 15 pieces out of the minifigure bin, just so you know. So I didn't get legs for the girls because I wanted green, and they didn't have any green. And they didn't have any of the magenta to match. And then I got 1 ice cream head and 2 acorns, which will get used as their hats in the mushroom house. So that was my find in the minifigure bin. And this is what I went in for. Seriously went in for.